You know, when you work in real estate, you hear a lot of people spewing a lot of headlines. And one I heard for the longest time was that millennials have no desire to buy a home. They want to YOLO and FOMO and be out there in the world. You do you. But there are some millennials that want to take a different path. So many people have had so many derogatory and just straight up incorrect assumptions about what millennials think and how they're gonna act, that I was super glad to talk to this millennial and find out about her home buying journey. There's so much information in this one. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear the real life story from Briana. Hey, and if you're out there and you're confused about buying a home and you want to hear from real people and hear their real stories and not just listen to someone else's sales pitch, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. There's a lot of interviews that are going to be right here on this channel. Now, Briana is in Northern California. She was listening to the podcast and reached out to me, and I was like, it's pretty expensive up there. So tell us your story. Now, obviously, you're Air Force. So you said you grew up kind of close to there, though. So what was the whole thing behind? Were you someplace else with the Air Force and then came back?
I was. So I've been in the Air Force for about 10 years. I was in New Mexico for a while, then Mississippi, and then I spent the last 4.5 years in Germany. So we just moved here from Germany.
Now I'm curious. Everyone wants to know about your house, but I want to know this. Do you have a specific role in the Air Force?
I do. I'm occupational health and safety. So kind of like OSHA, but for the Air Force.
Oh, cool. Oh, all right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I have some friends who do that. The home inspection with them was a little interesting. So
Yes, I was looking out for especially electrical concerns is a huge one for me.
Okay, tell us all about it. So you're coming from Germany, and then what was the whole reason behind you deciding to buy a home?
Yeah, of course. So we just got an assignment here to Travis Air Force Base in the Fairfield area, and I was very excited because it was close to home and I hadn't been back home in 10 years. We also just had a son. Our son was about just turned 3 at the time, and having, a small family, I was thinking it would be nice to buy a house, especially since we're moving, closer to home. This was about July, so a year ago this month, that we decided to look, and I'm a huge planner. So honestly, the first thing I did was do a Spotify search for real estate podcasts, and you popped up. Honestly, I don't think I would have bought a house if it wasn't for your podcast, because I did not understand. It's usually a quick thought, like maybe it's a good idea to buy a house, but all the preparation and work that goes into that entire process. So, I listened to you in the morning when I was drinking coffee, during my lunch break, and in the evening until I kind of got an idea of, okay, can I do this?
Oh, and then at the end of every podcast, I told you can do this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I tell everyone all the time, this is not a get rich quick podcast. It's one person at a time starting their personal plan. What were some of the first steps that you took for all our people out there who have no idea where to start?
Yeah, of course. The first thing I did is grab a pencil, honestly, because the information was such an overload that I was like, all right, let me restart this whole experience and grab a pencil. So I think I started with, that timeline piece. Is Do I have enough time, right? Because we were moving in 6 months. So I'm like, do I have the time to even start this process right now? So I kind of followed your podcast and said, okay, let me start from the end and go backwards. So if I have the approval like 30 days before I want to go into closing, this is where I would be at. And then before that, collecting documents, 2 weeks before that. And I actually ended up right where I was. So it was just enough time, like a 6-month window to do it, but I had to be very dedicated. So that went into a different checklist.
See, but you're okay. For those of you listening audio, I raised my hands in excitement when she did that. Back calendaring. I'm a huge, huge fan of back calendaring.
I think we added a week because we were in Germany to every time frame that was projected, because we knew we would have some hurdles buying a house in the end of 2021 market, and B, having some hurdles with a 9-hour time change. I had an alarm for midnight every night, and I was up from midnight to 2 a.m. in Germany calling people, talking, looking at houses, all of that.
Oh my God.
I was tired
Okay.
for 8 weeks.
Well, all right. You're an expert. I interviewed some people who did, Los Angeles to Portland, and I thought that was far. Tell us, people who are like, I have no idea how I'm going to buy a place living out of state. You are out of country. How did you do it?
Oh, yeah. I think the biggest thing was the research portion and kind of getting in the mindset of being a amateur and very low scale realtor, right? Like, what do realtors look at? What do realtors expect from the buyer? And like looking at it from that perspective allowed me to prepare and honestly be like one step ahead of my realtor. So like if she emailed me in the middle of the night for a document, I had already had it, and that made it easier for the both of us, especially during the transition. Having those pre-phone calls with like the bank and my financial institutions to make sure that like I could wire money in ahead of time, so that when it came time to close, there wasn't issues there too. I think those are the two big areas that helped me succeed while being in a different country.